Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for September 23rd through the 29th. And this week there are themes around inspired action. We have Mars making a trine to Saturn, signaling this inspiration and desire to take action to get things moving from a place, from an emotional place, especially from a place within the heart. And we also have Mercury, the planet of the mind and the thought process and communication, making a lot of different aspects this week. So, a lot of ideas and inspirations, and a lot happening this week. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a depth psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I'm so pleased to be able to share the astrology of this week with you from a psychological perspective. So let's talk about what's happening this week. Um, Broader context of this week also is that we are within the eclipse season. Last week we had our full moon partial lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. We'll have another eclipse next week, the new moon solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. And so eclipse season happens about every 6 months. The season itself is about a month or so in time. And so we're within this time of eclipses where there are themes around very rapid endings and beginnings, a sense of renewal, a sense of rebirth, a sense of resetting. And so that is a subtle theme in this week as well. And this week, as far as the lunar cycle, we have the last quarter moon in Cancer. This is happening on Tuesday, the 24th of September. And so the last quarter is a part of the waning phase of the cycle where the moon is continuing to appear smaller and smaller in the sky. And so there's this theme around release, letting go, tying up loose ends. Now, what I think is particularly interesting with this part in the lunar cycle is that this is connecting in with the Mars Saturn trine that we're experiencing this week. And so we have Mars in Cancer all week, making a trine to Saturn in Pisces. And so this is really about the Mars themes meeting Saturn themes in a way that is supportive and easily flows. Things work together in a way that is harmonious. Now, Mars is a symbol of assertiveness, being direct. It can also be agitation or annoyance or the things that sort of irk us and invoke us to take action, to say something, to create a boundary, to say no, to defend ourselves or stand up for ourselves or others in some way. And so Mars is our psychological defense system. And I think that uh, we could actually say that of all of the planets, that there is a defense system that's coded into each of the planets and configurations. And Mars most directly correlates to the part of ourselves biologically and psychologically that needs to protect us. And so we can think of Mars as having this instinctual defense way about it. And sometimes that involves, depending on your lifestyle, your chart, your way of being, your temperament, sometimes that involves going on the defensive, sometimes that involves being more offensive. Um, and regardless of what it is, Mars ignites our agitation or frustration or anger to tell us that there is something that is not quite right here. There is something that is in some way a threat or is being perceived as a threat. And so I think this is a great astrological signature this week to reconnect with Mars in a way that maybe doesn't feel as scary because it is making an aspect to Saturn, but it's a trine. So there's this flow to it. Um, and Saturn is the planet of containment, boundaries, discipline, long-term plans, creating a foundation, having a solid structure in our lives. Saturn reminds us of the finiteness of our life. And so when we have Mars Saturn, there may be an inspiration to do something about something now, to do something within a contained period of time. Mars Saturn together like this, there is this there is this negotiation between wanting to act and wanting to do and wanting to have a very immediate result, which is Mars, but then also keeping in mind that sometimes we do need to do things that have more of a strategic or long term plan in place, and that is the Saturn piece. Um, and so I don't know, I think it really depends on what may be happening in your life and where you're at, your own Mars like temperament. But there is this theme around gaining momentum, doing what needs to be done. There's an emotional tone to this as well because Mars is in the sign of Cancer and Saturn is in the sign of Pisces, both water signs. And it may also be finding a sense of resolution around something, finding a sense of, okay, this is what needs to happen here. Saturn is also a symbol of things like loss or guilt or grief. And this principle of um, making peace with the things that we can't change in our lives versus having the stamina or the initiative to do what it is that we need to do in order to take care of our material existence. And so that may be a component here as well, discerning and deciding what it is that you want to commit your precious time and energy resources to, and and how to do that in a way that is a good use of that time, whatever that means for you, that is worth it. And so this aspect has been um, continuing to build since Mars moved into Cancer on September 4th. And we're going to have more time with this aspect because Mars will make this exact aspect, the trine to Saturn, this week, and then eventually Mars will station retrograde in Leo. It'll move back into Cancer, so it will re-experience this connection with Saturn. So we get to have this again, and also this is something that's been maybe building since the beginning of September. And I think it's really interesting that we have our last quarter moon in the sign of Cancer on Tuesday, the 24th. So that moon coming in to be in the same sign with Mars sort of highlights this area. And so, like, again, it's happening all week, but the moon there on Tuesday is particularly striking to me. So I would just notice what you notice, especially if there are things around wanting to take action, to do something physical, if there is an agitation or an annoyance, what is it that is actually going on there? How do you want to channel your energy? Side note, last maybe thing about this as well is that um, Mars does really well with being channeled via physical activity. And I think Saturn does really well with having some sort of regular, consistent, daily commitment. And so, if when you're listening to this, you're a little bit worried about Mars, Saturn, or you're worried about things in your life not going the way that you want them to, I think that you can create your own sort of remediation ritual by doing something active this week. It doesn't have to be anything super intense, just something that is connecting you with your physical body, could even be going for a particular walk. And then something that you maybe commit to doing every single day. And this is invoking that Saturn effect, where Saturn is all about doing one small thing consistently over time, and then that builds up over time, and then there is a result that happens. And so that might mean um, saying something nice to yourself every day, or writing down something nice to yourself every day, or maybe um, you light a candle and um, have a moment with yourself. Maybe you take 2 to 3 deep breaths in the morning when you wake up. Anything, I don't know, maybe something else comes to you in this moment, but these are ways, like very simple, very easily accessible ways to connect in with the astrology that's happening this week. Okay, so we're in Mars Saturn territory, and we're like getting motivated. And then also Mercury is doing some things. So Mercury is currently in Virgo. Mercury has been there since September 9th, and it'll be there for a little bit longer until the 26th this week. On Thursday, Mercury will move from Virgo into Libra. But before Mercury changes signs, while it's still in Virgo, it will make 3 different aspects. So it will make a trine to Uranus, will make an opposition to Neptune, and a trine to Pluto. And so I actually quite like these because there's a lot that's getting kicked up. There's a lot of possibility for inspiration, for having new innovative ideas, and then also for maybe a healing or a resolution or a catharsis with the Pluto situation happening there. So I would really pay attention to the ideas that you're having, the information that you're gaining this week. Um, these may be things that come to you from the outside, ideas. It might be a conversation with someone that you're having. There's also this theme with both Pluto and Uranus around truth being revealed, and what you are able to or want to do that, or what you're wanting to do with that is up to you, of course. And there is something here about really gaining clarity or insight, or uh, something is revealed to you. Now that's the Uranus Pluto. And the Neptune opposition is maybe the tricky part of this configuration here, because Neptune, in contrast, is about either confusion or things not being super clear, or maybe some details are missing here. And so I think the mind this week is really high on inspiration and ideas and information, and there may be some ambiguity in there as well. So there's this mix. Life is like this sometimes, where um, there's some clarity, but then also some like, wait, but what about this other piece here? What's happening there? And so that is early in the week, so Monday through Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Mercury moves into Libra, and Mercury will be there for a little under a month or so. It'll be there from September 26th this week through to October 13th. And so the thinking function, the mind, the communication, the linear thought process um, moves from Virgo, which is about discernment and purposefulness and like really being super strategic, to Libra, which is about relationships, finding balance, finding harmony, finding a sense of equanimity. And I think Mercury in Libra is also really about considering options and looking at what makes sense, what's possible, what are the pros and cons of different things. And so there is this, I think we can think of Mercury in Virgo as really having a strong analytical component and um, going through what the different possibilities are and how to judge what is going to be most intentional and purposeful and, yeah, strategic. Whereas Mercury in Libra is a bit of a continuation of that process because there is this weighing with Libra. But with Libra, it's so much more about focusing on what is fair, what is good for others, what is going to feel balanced versus the process of things, which is more Virgo. And so yeah, so relationships are going to be more on the mind as we move forward from this Thursday into the middle of October. And so I think overall this week there are these themes around I think like getting excited and getting inspired and maybe getting agitated in the process with the Mars Saturn situation, but um, that any angstiness is propelling you forward or propelling you to do something. I think I will say, okay, this is the other piece with Saturn too, is that um, and this is maybe more so if you're having a Saturn transit yourself or if you're having a Saturn experience, maybe Saturn is being activated in your birth chart, is that um, sometimes when there's a lot of Saturn energy, it can feel very heavy and it can feel like we're boxed in or we're locked in or there's a lack of opportunity or a lack of choice. There's this heaviness to Saturn. There's this gravity about Saturn. And when Mars comes into the mix, there may be, if that's already happening for you, there may be a frustration around that. And then that gets internalized, and then that energy has nowhere to go. And then it sort of um, emphasizes that whirlpool or that heaviness downward and inward. And so this is why it is so helpful to connect with Mars this week by getting into the body, doing something that feels good for you, whether that is simply moving your body, whether that is uh, taking action in a way where you get an immediate result, you get something that happens, you feel a sense of accomplishment. um, I think when we're working with Saturn and Mars Saturn, having a sense of getting feedback, feeling like you are productive, you have completed or accomplished something is going to be really helpful. This sort of lifts and releases some of that pressure that can feel a bit heavy. And so, yeah, do what you need to do in order to find a sense of agency. That's really important with Saturn, um, is having a sense of agency. Okay. And then, yeah, also like all of these Mercury transits that are happening within the context of eclipse season. I don't know. I think it may be interesting to see where your mind is going, what kind of dreams you're having, what sort of synchronicities are happening. And we can look at this as where you're being guided and the feedback that you're getting. And then, of course, not just what's happening, but how you're feeling about it, where you're feeling called or moved. Okay, so I'm going to pull some tarot cards for you. And now is the place and time for you to get into a comfortable zone to connect with yourself as best you can. So that may mean closing your eyes, that may mean finding stillness or a rhythmic movement or walking around, whatever feels good for you to connect in. And in the way of honoring Mars, see if you can find a connection into some sensation in your body. So, might be the sensation of your breath as it pulls in and releases out through your nostrils. You might feel your belly moving when you breathe. You might feel the temperature in the room or the clothing around you. You might hear sounds off in the distance. And as you're here, you feel yourself really settle in and relax into this existing moment exactly as it is. And the more that you experience the senses inside you and outside you, you're able to settle and relax here. Now is also a beautiful time to connect with anything or anyone that you have a practice of working with, whether that's ancestors, spirit guides, higher self. Ask that they're here with you now to connect with you, support you, and communicate with you. Knowing that anything that you receive here is exactly what is meant to be heard at this moment. So, first card is the King of Wands. And this card is always so hilarious to me because the the image is this person that's on a broomstick and it looks like they've just like escaped from the house and they're like, bye, see you. And they're sort of like flying straight up into the air. Um, and so we can think of the king in the tarot as a symbol of the goodness of Saturn, of being in a position of autonomy, authority, power, influence. Um, and when we have the King of Wands, the wands are a symbol of fire, inspiration, passion. And so, actually, frick, it's like really interesting that we have the King of Wands. This feels very Mars Saturn to me. This is um, embodying that inspired action energy. And with the King of Wands, it's about leading by doing, being a good example, and connecting with and following your gut, your intuition, your passion, what you know to be true for you. Um, and in this card, yeah, this person is, they're going somewhere, they're doing something. We're going to go back to that in just a moment. The second card is the Ace of Wands. So very interesting, right? That we have, because the King is the highest card in the wand suit. So we start with the end, the King of Wands, and then we continue on with the very beginning, the Ace of Wands. So aces are the very, very beginning. They're the seed of potential that is being planted and then it will continue to be gestated. So there's something here around embodying what it is that you want to grow. And maybe like the way that I'm reading this is it's like maybe there's something that is culminating and there's a next phase or a next level of that you want to move into. And in this card, the Ace of Wands, this person is also like moving straight up, riding a broom, and there's also a spaceship on this image. So they're also like really going somewhere fast. And I pulled the ace, this card, the Ace of Wands reversed. So this new thing might be uncertain. There might be some insecurity around it. It might be a little unknown. It might feel kind of out there. I'm like really drawn to, there's even like a little alien, extraterrestrial person here. And so, yeah, like there's there's maybe this desire to go really big or really out there. I'm thinking about your Uranus energy. Um, and so, yeah, what is it? What is this thing that you're wanting to do that's a little new? And we could also take it as um, the King of Wands being the topic, the thing. So, like, wanting to have a sense of freedom, leadership, autonomy, influence, and then how to do that, how to go about that. The answer is the Ace of Wands. And that it's reversed, it feels to me like it could be like maybe it's not quite clear what the new beginning is, but the way that I'm reading this in this moment is that in order to have this sense of freedom and like really, I think the King of Wands is also very much about confidence and surety in yourself and your skills and being recognized for that, like not just feeling confident within yourself but also being recognized by your community as capable. And and so there's there's this thing with the Ace of Wands where the way to go about that is by having an open mind, having a sense of curiosity, having a having a motivation that is a beginner's mind. Like really remembering that this is a journey, this is something that you're doing, and that in some ways, maybe, I don't know, but maybe you are at the beginning of a process, and to allow for the unknown, allow for this to be something that is going to grow and develop in a way that maybe you can't see quite right now. Okay, so the last card is the Seven of Pentacles. And I think this card is also hilarious. Frankly, I think this whole deck is hilarious. This is the deck of spells and potions. And in this card, so the Seven of Pentacles usually is about pausing and reflecting on your progress and uh, appreciating how far you've come, but also deciding, okay, how is it that you want to continue, and sort of like taking stock of your progress thus far. In this particular deck, the image is of a person with their cat, and this like big pot of liquid has like tipped over and it looks like very chaotic. They're like, oh no, oh my gosh. Like they've been creating this brew and now it's just tipped over. And so the imagery in this card in this particular deck speaks to um, it's a recommendation to not be hasty, to instead take your time, like really think about things, like just slow your roll a little bit. And I think that this goes with the traditional meaning of this card, where traditionally it is a card of pausing, like literally stopping and looking at the things that you have done and contemplating, I think, like contemplating the path forward. But the Seven of Pentacles is really about reflecting on how far you've come and what you've done so far. And so I think this is important with cultivating this sense of confidence and inspiration and um, whatever the King of Wands is symbolizing to you in your life, this sense of mastery, this sense of like a strong sense of self. There's something here about that that's emerging. And then also, a part of that process is really important to acknowledge how much you have already done, where you've already come from. I think with and then maybe this is a part of the reversal of the Ace of Wands, is that it can be very easy to focus on where we want to be, what we want to do, what our goals are, which is infused in the Ace of Wands. And also, the Ace of Wands is a reminder that that thing that we desire, that thing that we desire, King of Wands, is not quite here at this moment. And so I think that there's also this component of appreciating how much you have done, even now, even in this moment, and then over time, over the process as well. And it's very heartening too to see the Seven of Pentacles follow the Ace of Wands, because that tells me that there is something that happens here. And I don't often think about this, but in this moment, I'm thinking about also the Seven of Pentacles, the seven being maybe a number here that's important around whatever it is that's growing and developing in your life. And so that may be 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, 7 years. Seven is a number that I connect with Saturn, because Saturn has a 7 year quarter cycle. Um, it makes its square, opposition, or conjunction every 7 years. So every 7 years, there is a Saturn transit that we experience. And Clarissa Pinkola Estes, in her book Women Who Run with the Wolves, talked about the number seven being connected to initiation, and that this is a number that's connected in many different myths and stories, where a person will go away or underground for a period of seven, being 7 days, 7 weeks, or 7 years sometimes. And in that process, there is this transformation, there's this renewal that happens. And so I am connected. That's my long winded way of saying that I'm connecting that here with you, where there's something here that is involving an initiation process, and that takes time, and that takes feeding the seedling that is growing, that is you. All right. That is your weekly astrology forecast for this week. I hope that this is helpful and meaningful to you. I hope that you're doing well in your life. I always love hearing from you. Thank you so much for always sharing in whatever way that you do. Um, if you want to find out more about me and my work, you can find me on my website, theastropsyche.com. I offer depth psychotherapy, therapy with astrology, astrological counseling, and also I'm very excited to be doing some therapy groups at this point in time as well. So you can find out all about that on my website. I would love to connect with you in any way that is um, helpful for you right now in your life. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.